Jahnavi, please inform to your class group to join the class now. So please, all of you go through the previous class. We discussed about computing environments, right? Yes, shall I start the class? So before that, I will just ask some questions to a random roll number. Yeah, roll number 6V. Please tell me the difference between peer-to-peer and client-server computing environments. 6V. What is the difference between client-server computing and peer-to-peer computing? Yes, ma, don't waste the time. Please respond. 6V. It's not there? Okay. So 6V, I will keep absent. Then 7R. 7R. Please respond and tell me what is the difference between client-server computing and peer-to-peer computing. Am I audible, guys? Yeah, then what is the problem? Why this 6V and 7R are not responding? 7R. So she also left by logging the class. Okay, so let me check with one more. 7B. Roll number 7B. Okay, so I am going to keep absent for these three roll numbers 6V, 7R and 7B. Okay, so let's continue with our class. So today we are starting the second part of your unit 1. We are done with the chapter 1 and chapter 2 requires one more class. So on Monday we are going to complete unit 1. Right. So today we are going to discuss two concepts, OS services and system calls. Right. So today we are going to learn about OS services and system calls. Right. So this comes under the chapter 2, that is OS structures. So in this we are mainly going to discuss about, one second. Yeah, so we are going to learn about these things, right? So OS services, we will see user operating system interface, very small topic, system calls and types of system calls, right? And system programs also we will see, right? When you see the system components, right? We have seen like users, operating system, right? There we have seen user programs and system programs, right? So we will see what are the different system programs here, right? And then virtual machines we already discussed, right? So in this OS structure is there, that part we try to complete in the next class, right? So this system boot generations, this is not required, which are not comes under your syllabus. So what are the things which are there in the syllabus? I try to complete all the topics. So today we try to see what are the operating system services and interfaces, system calls, types of system calls. If time permits, I will see the system programs also. These are small topics only. The remaining we try to complete in the next class, right? Now let's start with the OS services, right? So if you see the OS services, normally an operating system provides an environment for the execution of programs. You all know that, right? Operating system provides an environment for the execution of the programs, right? So for that, operating system provides certain services. It provides certain services to the programs and to the users who are running those programs. You are getting me? Operating system provides certain services to programs and the users, right? So why these services are provided? For the convenience of the programmer and to make the programming task easier. So in the first day, these things we discussed, right? To make it convenient and make the task easier, right? So we all know that OS provides an environment for the execution of the program. See, are you following me? I just want to confirm. Am I audible and are you following me? Yes, right? So, okay, very good. Be with me, right? These are the important topics, ma. So you all know that OS provides an environment for the execution of the programs. For this, OS provides some services to the programs and the users, right? So why these services are provided is for the convenience of the programmer and to make the programmer task easier, right? So if you see the list of operating system services, there are 9 types of services that are provided by the operating system, right? Just take down the 9 services, then we will see one by one, right? Just take down the services. I am reading out. The first one is user interface. Just take down the 9 services. The first one is user interface. Second one is program execution. Otherwise, I will show you here. Right. So you can take this services, ma. There are 9 types of services are there. I am reading out user interface, program execution, IO operations, file system manipulation, communication, error detection, resource allocation, accounting, protection and security. Right? So these are the list of services that are provided by the operating system. So let's start with the first one, user interface. So if you see user interface, almost all operating systems have a user interface, right? If you take any operating system these days, right, most of the operating systems are having the user interface, whether it is a command line or like a graphical user interface, whatever, right? Almost all operating systems have a user interface. So normally an user interface is of 3 types. First one is command line interface like DOS prompt, where you give everything in terms of commands and you will get the response. Second one is graphical user interface, right? Like it is a Windows system. Graphical user interface, best example is Windows system. With a pointing device, you have a mouse to direct the IO, choose from the menus and make selections, and a keyboard to enter the text. Right? You are getting me? GUI is nothing but you have a mouse, you have a keyboard through which you give the input, you have menu options from where you select, on a single click of the mouse, you are going to perform some certain actions. But when it is coming to user interface command line, in command line uses the text commands and a method for entering them. Normally you have some commands in the DOS prompt, you enter the commands, right? What is batch? Batch interface is nothing but the commands and the directives to control those commands are entered, right? So you enter in a command into the files and those files will get executed. Like we know what is the definition of batch processing, right? You have some set of inputs, right? From there, the jobs will get executed. So here also the same thing, you have a command with the default command. The commands will be executed on the files and the execution will be done, right? So this is the first service, right? What is that? User interface. The second service is program execution. When it is coming to program executions, right? So here the system must be able to load a program into the memory and run the program, right? So OS will take care of executing the programs, right? So to make that execution, what it has to be done? First, you have to load the program into the memory, right? So the program must be able to end its execution either normally or abnormally. If your program is having some errors, the execution will be abnormal, right? If it is having no errors, your program will be executed and output is displayed. So that is about the program execution, right? So to make the program executed, first it should be loaded into the memory. Once it loaded into the memory, the OS will take care of executing the program. After the execution, either the program can be completed normally or abnormally. The third one is IO operations. So whenever you are executing a program, definitely a running program may require IO to display it on the monitor or else to take the input from the files, right? To take the input manually with the keyboard like that, right? That means definitely a running program requires IO, right? Which may involve a file or IO device. Either you are taking it from the file or it is from any one of the IO device. So examples I can tell you, like you are displaying something on the screen or you are recording the data to CD or DVD like that, right? So these are the examples of IO operations. So OS will take care of this IO operations also. So whenever any program is running and it requires some IO, definitely that program will send an interrupt to the operating system and that operating system will take care of that IO operation, performing that IO operation. Next is file system manipulation. So whenever you are executing any program, right, some programs need to read or write files and directories, right? Whenever you are executing any programs, that programs need to write or read files and directories, right? And sometimes they need to create and delete by the name, or they want to search for a file and list file information, right? All this will be taken care by the operating system. So here I can say operating system includes permissions management, any other users to open the file, to see the contents of the file. That means OS have the restrictions on the files based on the file ownership. So that is about the file manipulation, right? Next is communication, right? So definitely when we are working on a shared environment, right? When it is a distributed system or any kind of, if the devices are connected in a network, right? So one process needs to communicate with another process to exchange the information. So here one process needs to communicate with another process on the same system or on the other system, So if a process in one system wants to communicate with a process in another system, there you require the communication over the network, right? So that is the thing here I am telling you. Communication occurs between the processes that are executing on the computer, right? You are getting me, right? So how the communication takes place? Here the communication can take place in two ways. One is via shared memory or through message passing. Via shared memory or via message passing, right? So shared memory means what? The two processes are sharing the memory. That means they both want some resources which are stored in the same memory block. So I can say in the shared memory, right? Communication between two or more processes is performed in such a way that, right, read and write to a shared section of the memory. So both wants to perform a read operation or write operation on a shared section of the memory. Message passing means, as I told you, message passing between two processes on two different computers. So there, the communication takes place in terms of the packets. So what is packet? Everything you will be learning in the computer networks. Packet is a piece of information, right, which is following some certain predefined format, right? So communication means message passing is nothing but communication, the packets of information in predefined formats that are moved between the processes by the operating system. Clear for you all about the communication? Definitely, when the process are being executed, definitely one process in its lifetime wants to communicate with another process. So the another process can be on the same system or another system. So if it wants to communicate with the another system, definitely those systems has to be connected in the network, right? So here the communication takes place in two ways: shared memory and the message passing. Shared memory is nothing but, right, the two devices are referring to the same memory location to perform either read or write operation, right? Message passing means the two devices are in two different computers. They will exchange the information in terms of the packets because those systems are connected through the network. So here the packet have its own predefined format. That means when you are sending the message, it has to be in a given predefined format, right? So that is about the communication. Next, error detection, right? So when it is coming to error detection, what is happening? So when it is coming to error detection, so when there are multiple users and multiple processes running at the same time, right? Sorry, we are discussing about what? Error detection, right? So when you are executing the programs, right? When you are executing the programs, so the OS needs to be detecting and correcting the errors constantly. OS needs to be constantly aware of possible errors, right? So what are the different possible errors? I can say CPU and memory hardware errors, CPU and memory hardware errors like memory error or a power failure or any kind of IO errors like parity error on the disk, connection failure on a network, lack of paper on a printer, like this, right? All this comes under CPU, memory, hardware errors and IO device errors, right? So OS will take care of these errors. And there are another type of errors like I can say user program errors. So user program errors can be arithmetic overflow or else an attempt to access to illegal memory location. All this comes under the user program errors, right? So for each type of error, the OS should take the appropriate action to ensure, right, correct and consistent computing. To ensure correct and consistent computing. So OS needs to be constantly aware of the errors. The errors can be CPU memory hardware errors, right? Or IO device errors or user program errors. So I gave you some examples for this. User program error means I can say user program error can be an arithmetic overflow, right? So IO means there is no paper in the printer, or right, or a connection failure to the IO device, right? So memory hardware error means, like I can say memory error, like there is a power failure, right, or a parity error on the disk. All this comes under this CPU, memory hardware, IO device, and user program errors. So for these different types of errors, OS should take the appropriate action to ensure correct and consistent computing. So this is all about the error detection. So next about the resource allocation, right? So when it is coming to this resource allocation, when multiple users or multiple jobs running constantly, resources must be allocated to each of them. Yes or no? So resource allocation mainly comes with when the multiple devices are sharing the resources, right? Or else multiple users are sharing the resources, right? So I can say when multiple users or multiple jobs running concurrently, resources must be allocated to each of them, right? So normally OS resources can be, right, there are some kind of resources. The OS resources can be CPU cycles, main memory, and the file storage, right? So along with this, we have another type of resources like IO devices, right? So these can be handled by the operating system, right? So how it is going to do is the operating system manages many of these resources, like, right, CPU cycles, main memory, and file storage. They, right, CPU cycles, main memory, and file storage may have special allocation codes, right? That means if you want to, means any program wants the CPU cycles, or CPU, means any program wants the main memory, or any program wants to access to a files, right? They have some special allocation code. So with this, that means the user, when the user program is being executed, so you will do it in terms of performing an action, and the APU where you are executing your programs, that APU will convert your certain actions into the system calls, right? And according to that system call, the operating system will respond, right? Along with that, the CPU will respond. That means that will allocate you the CPU cycles, or it requires a main memory allocation or file storage, whatever. Based on that, it is going to allocate them, right? So in determining how best to use the CPU, the operating system have CPU scheduling routines, right? That means when multiple jobs are being executed, to give each job equal priority, the CPU is executing the CPU scheduling algorithms, right? With that, it can allocate equal amount of time to each job. Then those jobs will be executed, right? Then after, now the other jobs will be given to the CPU, right? This is all about your resource allocation. Next, coming to this accounting, operating system keeps track of different kinds of resources used by all users. So that means it will keep track of which users using how much and what kind of computer resources. So how much time you spent on the computer, what are the different types of resources you used, right? So this record keeping may be used for accounting, so that the users can be billed billing. So if you are using the system on a rent basis, like, right, someone is providing you that kind of service based on the number of hours. So if you remember in earlier days, when you are if you want to use the internet connection, you go for internet center. There you use your system for 1 hour and they charge something like that, right? So that way, for billing purpose, this can be maintained, right? And this is also can be used for the statistics, right? So if you are using means OS is accounting of everything, right? So these statistics are used for the researchers who wish to reconfigure the system to improve the computing services, right? The statistics informations are used for the researchers, right, who wants to configure the system to improve the computing services. So that is all about the accounting. Next, the last one is about the protection and security. So the owners of the information stored in a multi-user or network computer systems may want to control use of the information, right? That means I am the owner of a particular data, right, where multiple users are accessing to the data. There, I want to control the use of the information. Best example I have already taken. You have your your college data, your students' data. So for different sections, different people, they have different access controls. Students only can able to see. Faculty have some kind of editing options, exam branch have a kind of editing options, HODs have kind of editing options. That means in different levels, they will be providing different types of protections, right? So here protection ensures that all access to system resources is controlled. That is a kind of protection. Protecting means protecting your data. So for that, what you do? You keep a lock, right? For the file, you make it private, so that means you have a sensitive data in your mobile. Then what you do? You simply lock that. Even though if you give your mobile to the other people, they will not be able to seeing the data because that was locked, right? That requires a special password to open the file. So that is nothing but protecting. When it is coming to the security of the system from outsiders requires user authentication. How to secure your device? Simply, you put some user ID and the password for your device, right? So that the others cannot log in into your system. It extends to defending the external IO devices from valid access attempts. So if the outsiders are trying to get access to your device, it will not allow you if you provide security to your system, right? So this is all about your OS services. So any doubts in this OS services, or it is clear for you all? All the services. Total how many services are there? There are 9 services are there, right? So it is clear for you all about all the services. User interface, that is OS provides the user interface, right, where the user can interact with the system. So user interface can be of 3 types, as I told you, right? Command line, graphical user interface, and batch interface. Then about the program execution, OS allows you to execute your programs, but to get your program executed, first you are supposed to load the program into the main memory. IO operation, right? So OS will allow you to perform the IO operations, right? Or else, like means you want to access to your files, right? You want to record something on the DVD, or else you want to display something on the monitor. All kind of IO operations will be taken care by the operating system. Then file system manipulation. File system manipulation is nothing but reading, writing the files, and creating, deleting the files, right? with a name, or else you want to search for a file and you want to see the file information, like when it is created, what is the size of the file, what kind of permissions the file is having, all these kind of things can be allowed with the operating system. Then communication, if you want to communicate with the processes, it allows you to communicate with them. OS will allow you with two different methods, like memory, shared memory, where the two processes on the same system wants to communicate, because they are referring to the same memory location, that is shared memory communication. Message passing means if you want to communicate with a device on other computer, right there, in terms of the packets, you are going to communicate with them, right? Error detection, if there is any error, right, any kind of error, the OS should be able to detect the errors and it should take the proper action to come out of the error, right? Then resource allocation, OS will provide you all kinds of resources, right? When it is a multi-user system or multi-programmed system, right? So you have some set of resources where multiple users are using them, then OS should allocate the resources to the users. So the resources means not only the IO, the CPU cycle, memory, everything, right? This comes under the resources only. Then accounting, it will keep track of how many users are logging into the system, how much time they are spending, what kind of resources they are using, everything will be accounted, right? Then protection and security, OS will provide you the security to the data and also will provide the protection. Protection is nothing but access control, right? Security means authentication. So this is all about the OS services, right? So take 2 minutes break. I'll have some water and come, right? Then we will start with the system calls. Okay, you have interfaces. No, I will complete this and I'll take the break. Very simple, ma. User operating system interface. So you all know what is interface, how the user is communicating with the system, right? So if you take user operating system interface, this interface is mainly categorized into 3 ways, right? These are mainly categorized into 3 types. One is command line interface. That means everything will be in terms of commands, right? In the Linux operating system, it can be implemented in the shells. You have different types of shells, right? This command line normally in your normal operating system, it is implemented in the kernel, right? Shells is nothing but when it is coming to Linux operating system, it can be done in the shells. You have Bourne shell, bash shell, like different types of shells in the Linux operating system. Mostly your Linux operating system in earlier days is command line interface only, right? You don't have this GUI, right? So normally whenever you are giving a command, what operating system will do is it will fetch a command from the user and it will execute it, right? And I can say sometimes the commands are built in, sometimes just names of the program. So if you want to perform like read file name dot something you are giving, right? So that is not the built-in command line. That is the just name of the program. So when you are typing that program will be displayed or anything, right? There are some built-in command lines are there. With that, a predefined action has to be taken place, right? Now, the second one is graphical user interface, GUI. You can say it is user-friendly. Desktop metaphor interface, I can say. It is having mouse, keyboard, and the monitor. And you have the icons, which represents the files, programs, actions, etc. Right? And various mouse buttons over the object in the interface causes various actions. If you double click on that, it will open. If you right click on that, it will give you some set of options, right? Like that, you have so many so many actions will be taken place on the different types of clicks on the mouse buttons. You all know this, right? So it was invented at Xerox PARS and this desktop GUI was implemented, right? And there are some computers which includes both CLI command line interface and GUI graphical user interface, right? So There are some examples which are given here for this. Microsoft Windows is a GUI with CLI, command line shell is there, and Apple iOS as Aqua GUI interface with Unix kernel is there, and Solaris operating system is CLI with the optional GUI interface, right? So this is all about the interfaces. You have command line interface, you have graphical user interface, and you have the combination of both also. So I give you some examples here. This is the examples for the command line Bourne shell, right? As I told you, in the Linux you have different types of shells: Bourne shell, bash shell, corn shell, like that. You have so many flavors of the command lines, right? So this is the example for the Bourne shell, right? Next you have this combination, and it is the Mac OS, right, with GUI and CLI, right? You can have the command line as well. Graphic user interface is also available, right? So this is clear for you all, the interfaces. So we discussed about the services and the interfaces. So next we will see the system calls. Up to this clear for you all? Any doubts? Please let me know. Please respond in the chat box. You are clear with the OS services and clear. Okay, very good. And the GUI, right? So I'll have some water and come. Take 2 minutes break. Be with me. We will start with the system calls. Yes, ma. Am I audible? Yes, ma. Am I audible? Okay. So let's start with system calls. So you all know what is a system call, right? Your software interrupts can be performed using the system calls, right? Your software, that means any user program wants to communicate with the operating system, right? They will send an interrupt in the form of the system calls, right? So I can say system calls provide an interface to the services made available by the operating system. So if you want to, if any user program wants to request the operating system for the services which are provided by the operating system, right? System calls are used, right? So system calls are generally available as routines. I can say system calls are generally available as routines written in C, C++, and also these are available which are written in assembly level instructions also, right? Not only C, C++, assembly level language routines also there, right? So that means your system calls are written in C, C++, and also in the assembly level language, right? As a routines, these are available, right? So if you take any operating system, each operating system has its own name for each system calls. So maybe the task which is performed is same, but it is having unique names. They have their own names depending on the operating system. So I can say each operating system has its own name for each system call, right? So accessed by the programs via a high level API rather than the direct system call use. So just now I mentioned like user, most of the times user is not directly calling the system calls, not directly executing the system calls. User will perform an action on API, right? That API will rather call that particular system call for that required action. So that is the third point. If you see it, mostly accessed by programs via a high level API rather than direct system call use, right? So if you take any API, the API specifies a set of functions that are available to an application programmer, right? Which includes the parameter that are passed to each function and then return values that the programmer can expect, right? So if you take any API, what that API will provide you? It will provide you some set of functions where you can create a file, open a file, you type the program, you compile the file, you run the file, right? When you are running the file, it displays the output. So that is the same thing he is telling about the API, right? So that the functions that make up an API typically involves the actual system calls on behalf of the application programmer. So that is what I am telling you, right? So means user is not directly communicating with the operating system. What the user is here, it is doing, the user is performing some set of actions, right? And what API will do, right? What API will do is, API will generate the system call based on the action you performed. So based on the system call, the OS will perform that particular action. Alright. So I'll tell you a simple example. So if you are using a Windows function like create process, you want to create a new process. That is, in API, you are simply creating file locally, create new file or something you want to perform. That actually invokes some system call in the Windows kernel. So for create process, you have NT create process system call. That means for each and every user action, you have a system call, right? Whenever the user is performing, that action will be converted to the system call. It will be called that particular system call by the API interface, right? That is application program interface, right? So I can say for most programming languages, right? Like you have a real-time support system. What is that real-time support system? Like it provides you some set of libraries and it provides you the compiler, right? When you are using the API, definitely it provides you all directories which are required for that programming language, and it also provides you the compilers to run the program, to execute the program, right? So here the real-time support system provides a system call interface. If you take most programming languages in API, right, they have a real-time support system. What that support system will do is, they provide a system call interface that serves as a link to system calls made available by the operating system. Right? So the system call interface intercepts function calls in the API and invokes the necessary system calls within the operating system. So what the system call interface will do is, you have an interface. What it will do, right? It intercepts the function calls in the API. So in the API, any function call is made, right? That system call interface invokes the necessary system call within the operating system, right? So for that, what it will do is, a number is associated with each system call, and the system call interface maintains a table indexed according to those numbers. To do that, what the system call interface will do is, right, it will give a number to each system call and it will be maintained in the table, right? So whenever any user function is performed, right, whenever any user function is performed, so based on the user function, that particular system call number is invoked, and that the request to that system call will be given to the operating system. So if you see this diagram, it is showing you how this can be done. So user application is performed, right? You have the system call interface here, and user is performing like open. So he is opening a file. Right? So what the system call interface will do, as I told you, system call interface will perform, it will maintain a table, right? So with the numbers to the system calls, right? So whenever this open is performed, right, according to the number, it will go to that particular location, that table, and based on that information, implementation of open system call is performed in the kernel mode. So what it will return in term, open means whenever open is executed, that particular file will get open. So that will return to the user application. This is clear for you all? Very simple, ma, don't get confused. So you are executing a program, right? You want to execute a program. How it will be done? you will be using an API, right? You will be using an API. What that API will provide you? It provide you all header files, link libraries, DLLs, right? That are required for the program execution. It will provide. It also provides you the compilers and all, right? Then what that API will do is whenever any user action is performed, user is performing any function, right? Whenever he is executing something, right? So here the user is not directly communicating with the operating system, right? You are getting no? What the API will do is whenever user is performing, right? The API will execute that system call. It will execute the system call and request the operating system. So how this can be done? This can be done by an interface, that is system call interface. So that system call interface will be taking care of this linking, right? So for that, what it will do is it will simply maintain a table, right? So in that table, it is having numbers associated with each system call, right? So it will maintain a Yes, ma? Padma Surya. Okay. Right? So it is maintaining a table. So whenever the user is performing an action, according to the number, that particular system call will be invoked. That's all. Very simple. Don't get confused, right? Where is the PPT? Very simple, right? So user application performing a function. So what the system call interface will do, it will check in the table, because for each and every user action, it is giving some number, no? According to that number, that particular system call will be called. So system call means giving control to the OS. So OS will perform this job. It will open the file and that file will be returned to the user. That's all. So here they are given a simple example, right? It is the system call sequence to copy the contents of one file to another. If you want to copy one file to another, so these are the set of system calls which will be executing, right? So which is the input file? You acquire the input file name, write the prompt to screen, accept the input, right? What is the output file name? You write on the screen, right? It will accept, right? Then it will open the input file. If that file is not existing, it will abort, right? Instead, it will create the output file, right? If the file is already existing, abort, right? Then read from the input. It will read the file contents one by one. No, that is the reason it is executing in the loop. Read file from input file, write it into output file until read files. That means until it reaches the end of the file. Then close output file, write completion message to the screen, terminates normally. So these many set of actions, these many set of system calls will be executed when you want to copy one file content to another file content, right? So you can take these things or else it is available in your notes, not a problem, right? So one more example is given. So it is a read file function, ma, right? So it is executing some instruction, like you have some program execution, means program instruction. You have a line of code, right? That is like read file C, which is of Boolean type, and it is having some kind of parameters here, right? So in the standard API, if you are writing this thing, what it is going to do is it will read the file name, right? It will read the file name C. So for reading the file, what are the parameters it is having is handle file, right? Handle file. And this next you have LP void buffer, right? That means handle file with this, what is the file you want to read, that file will be taken, and buffer where the data will be read into the written form. You have a buffer where your contents will be copied, right? And D word, bytes to read, that means the number of bytes to be read in the buffer, the number of bytes read during the last read, and the last one indicates if overlapped IO is used. That means if another one is already reading that file, it give you some instruction on the monitor saying that file is already being used by some other, right? So that this is not so important. I am just showing you as an example, right? So this is very important, ma. How a system call can be handled, it was given there, right? So clear for you know how the system call is implemented. Please respond so that I can show you the different types of system calls. How a system call is executed, it is clear for you all now? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So this is another example how a printf can be executed like, right? So whenever you have a printf statements in your program and you are executing it, it will first go to the standard library. As I told you, API will provide you the standard library, no? So in that standard library, print is nothing but writing the content which is there inside the printf, right? Which has to be read. Then it will call the write system call. So write system call, what it will do, greetings will be displayed on the IO, right? So it will return to that. So this is how another example of how write system call works with the printf library call, right? So these are the different types of system calls. So mainly you can group the system calls into 6 categories, ma. One is process control system calls, file management system calls, device management system calls, information maintenance system calls, and communication system calls, protection system calls, right? So I give you the list of system calls for each and every type. Let's start with process control system calls. Process control system calls. So here the diagram was given, the common system calls which are there for Windows and Linux, right? So apart from this, you have more system calls also. That list now I am going to give you. Please make a note of those. Yes. Can you able to see this now? So under this process control system calls, right? You have like create process, terminate process, load and execute, and abort, wait event, signal event, get process attributes, set process attributes, acquire lock, release lock. So these are the different types of system calls which comes under process control system calls. Create process means to create a process. Terminate, to terminate a process which is already created. Load and execute. If you want to execute the program first, your job has to be loaded into the memory, then it will be executed. End means normally your program got ended. Abort means when your program is being executed, OS was interrupted with a system call, so that your program means it was aborted, abnormal execution, right? So wait event means let's consider there are number of jobs are being executed, right? Then you created your job, but your job is not yet given to the CPU. There you are supposed to wait for some time until the CPU gets clear, right? That means the job which is already being executed has to be completed. Signal event, right? The jobs are processed as signals when an event occurred normally, right? So signal event means I am giving a signal to the operating system. So get process attributes, set process attributes. So it is used to control the execution of the process, right? What are the process attributes? That means each process will be given and process ID, like that. There are some attributes are there. With this, you are going to get the process attributes, right? And you want to set some attributes. You want to change the name of the process, like that. There are some attributes are there. Like acquire lock, release lock means which is used when you are using the locking for the process, right? So acquire lock is used to lock a process, release lock is used to release the lock on the process. Locking means lock on the resources, right? So you are using some set of resources, there you have a lock, right? So after releases, after your program execution is over, you are going to release the lock. Next, coming to file management, here you have the attributes like create file, delete file, right? Open file, close file, get file attributes, set file attributes, right? Reposition the file, that means from one directory to another directory if you want to copy, right? And close the file. So these are the things: create, delete, get file attributes, set file attributes, open, read, write, reposition, close. These are the system calls on the file management, right? These are the system calls on the file management. Next, coming to the device management, right? So whenever you are executing any program, it requires several resources like memory, disk, access to the files, and so on, right? So if the resources are available, they will be granted. Otherwise, the process will have to wait until the sufficient resources are available. You are getting me? Device management means whenever you are executing a program, you require so many resources like memory, disk drives, access to files, and so on. So whenever you are requesting for the resources, if the resources are available, all the resources will be given to you, right? If the resources are not available, then you have to wait until you get all the resources, right? So the various resources are controlled by the operating system, right? So for that, it is having some system calls for that. First one is request, that is you are requesting a resource, all right? Once the device is requested, means what you are requesting is granted, then what you can perform? You can perform read, write, reposition on the device, right? Then after the finishing, you will release the device, right? So set console mode is nothing but here you are getting access to the device. Once you get, read the data from the read the data or write the data, then after release the resource, right? Next, about the information maintenance. So information maintenance is nothing but, the purpose of this is transferring information between the user programs and the operating system, right? What this kind of system calls will do is they will simply transfer the information between the user programs and the operating systems, right? So what this kind of information maintenance system calls is like current time, date, like you want to get the current time or else you want to get the date. So these, like user will be asking this using the command prompt or whatever, and the result will be displayed on the screen, right? And you have another important thing, that is dump command is there, right? That is the dump command or dump system call, which is helpful in the debugging a program. There is an error in your program, then what you do is you simply use the dump command. You simply use the dump command for the debugging of the program, right? Next, about the communication. So for the communication, you have two types, as I told you: inter-process communication, that is inside the system, if two processes are communicating, that is called inter-process. Message passing is nothing but if the two programs or two processes which are communicating, right, are there in a same network but on the different computers, right? This we have already seen. Shared memory model means like when the two processes are uh, referring to the same memory location, right? So here, whenever you want to exchange the messages, right, there first you have to get the host ID on which host you want to communicate. First you are supposed to get that, and then get process ID, which process you want to communicate, right? Why? Because operating system is giving the process ID to each and every process, right? So with this get host ID, you will get the host device ID, and with the process ID on with which process you want to communicate with, this is used. So if it is inter-process communication, right? That means you want to communicate with another device in case, right? So there you will be having this system calls open connection and close connection. So to communicate with, first you are supposed to open the connection. You first establish a connection with the device. After communicating with the device, you can simply close the connection. So when you are sending open connection, if the receiver is ready to communicate with you, then it will accept the connection. If the receiver is ready to communicate with you, then it will accept the connection. If it is not accepting the connection, you will not be able to communicate. Best example is you want to talk to your friend. You're making a call, that is open connection. He is lifting the phone, accepting the connection. After talking, you will close the connection. That means you will end the call. That's all. All right. So this is like how you are communicating with the other devices, right? Or else if it is a shared memory thing, right? Processes use shared memory, right? Like create, attach. These are the two system calls that are used when you are using the shared memory to create and gain access to regions. So you want to create a memory region. For that, create command is used. Or else you want to gain access to that. All right? Then you will be using this attach system call. Right? So this is all about the communication. You're following now? Yes. Right. Last about the protection, ma. So protection provides a mechanism for controlling the access to the resources provided by the computer system. So system calls that are used for this permission is set permission, get permission. So you can set a permission to that. You can get permission means if you want to get the permission for that, you can, means you want to access to the file, right? Then you are supposed to get the permission to get the access Yes, ma. I have some network issues. I don't know where I got disconnected. I am. Please, someone let me know where it was disconnected. Like, so I am taking the system programs, right? Can you able to hear me, guys? So we are done with system calls, right? And I started system programs, and I started explaining you, and I don't know where I disconnected. Do let me know where where I got disconnected, so that otherwise we will continue this in the next class, because you have a quiz to take. And time may not be sufficient for you. Yeah, I started the quiz. Do let me know if you can able to take the quiz. So once again, we will see the system programs in the next class. Don't worry.